What is good, my people? We are live back again with another live show of the forecast. What's going on, time to work? Yeah, I'm coming back. I got a new video coming out on the Forecast Radio 24 coming up right after this. So, I wanted to come on and holler at y'all. And I definitely want y'all to call in. The number is right there on the screen, 804-601-4015. But yeah, the new video will be up soon. You know, I'm just waiting for it to upload, and I'm gonna do a live premiere go off too. You know how YouTube does. So make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24 is in the description, so y'all can be on the live premiere tonight. But anyway, hopefully y'all call in. The number is right there on the screen. But I'm gonna keep it real because what everybody's talking about is the whole election thing, and honestly, I'll be glad when the whole election thing is over with. Now, I'm gonna say this at the beginning, like right now, right? If is a issue that you need to vote on, like if you need to get your street fixed or something like that, then I'm not telling you to not vote. But people really have to stop saying, well, we just have to put whatever to the side so that we get Donald Trump out of office. Because really, that's a sick mentality that we have. And that's us still trying to be assimilated into another person's culture. Now, as long as I've been alive, every single election has been the most important election that has ever been, right? Diddy was talking about vote or die 20 years ago, right? And then Obama ran. And now we have to get Donald Trump out of office. But it's the same cycle over and over and over. Yeah, I mean, the whole point is we need to be focused on our business, on building our own, instead of trying to worry about somebody else's system, a system that was never meant for us. Now, we can just look at the two candidates. I mean, when you look at the debate and the subject about race, when they can stick on race, right? None of it has been about, yeah, how can we help black people not be at the bottom? And it never has been, no matter who it's been, because when it comes to black people, then it's about all people. We need to lift all people up, meaning they're telling you right then and there that you're going to stay on the bottom. But we, not enough of us see a problem with that. But they sit there and they tell you. But in this particular one, they each exposed each other, right? And they was right about each other, right? You know, Donald Trump is right. He's been in office 45, 47 years. And now all of a sudden he's going to do something when everything he's ever done has been to the detriment of black people. And then notice, right, even then they'll like to blame that on, well, that's what black people wanted. We're speaking about the black caucus, not the black people in general, right? But we'll turn around and call somebody like Bill Clinton the first black president, and that's a disgrace in itself. But Bill Clinton is somebody who got into the position that he was by going after a black woman, by going after Sister Soldier, right? That's when he really kind of moved his campaign forward, right? By attacking a black woman who was standing up for black people, by using the same old rhetoric when we talk about self-defense, right? Because back then the LA riots was going on, right? Because again, that you have these Asians, and that was a part of it. And of course, was the police brutality, something that we have been dealing with for centuries. But in 1992, it was the same issue, the issue of race, because white supremacy is not very inventive. They're not very smart. All they do is recycle the same things over and over and over, right? They just put a different face on it, right? And the same thing was happening back in 1992, and Bill Clinton literally used a black woman to get to where he needed to be. And we sit there and call him, the first black president. But that's the whole point of politics in America. Because, as long as we feel like we got to identify with their politics, we ain't necessarily concerned with our own politics. And, that is the problem. That's why they know, as long as we are focusing on, well, we just got to get Donald Trump out of office, we're not ready to be in the position that we say we want to be in. Because how are you going to go and vote in the people who are responsible for the very thing that you are out there protesting against, by saying, well, we just have to get Donald Trump out because he's racist? And all of these things, now Joe Biden said, well, of course I know that, there's systemic racism and we have to make a change. But guess what? When he was actually making bills, putting stuff into law that affects us right now, instead of just making false promises, he said, I don't care why they are like they are. Now, he didn't deny there was systemic racism then, but he said, I don't care why. I just want them away from my mom and my drug addict son. Now, the issue is Donald Trump was agreeing with Joe Biden and saying not enough people was locked up, and he was right about the whole Central Park 5 thing, right? But the things that you're accusing Donald Trump of being racist about, which was racist, he was literally backing Joe Biden. He was trying to push Joe Biden's law. So why are you talking about lesser of two evils? Because really, you just want to be comfortable in white supremacy. You want to have, you know, even though these same things are going to happen, right? You just want them to have a smile on their face while they're doing it, instead of having the pitchforks like the mobs used to. Yeah, I mean, he used to rant all the time. I mean, he literally said Obama was the first clean Negro or whatever he said. And we sit there and say, well, that's good enough for me. When really, unless somebody is talking about a financial gain or whatever it may be, or just us not paying taxes, because people think reparations is just like, oh, we'll get like $1,000 check a month or something like that. But we shouldn't even be paying taxes in America. And, that's the truth. I mean, just based off the tax exemptions alone, right? We ain't got to talk about the violence. Let's just talk about the tax exemptions that America has given out. And there's been 45 presidents. Not one of them has done anything to make that happen. Under no president has the Dred Scott law been overturned. And, Donald Trump compared himself to Abraham Lincoln, right? Well, Abraham Lincoln wanted black people out of America. I mean, they can lie to themselves, but the Civil War was literally because the North just wanted in on the slave money that the South was making. Because the South was killing it with cotton and tobacco, with millions of people giving them free labor. And the North wanted in on that. It wasn't because they wanted to free them, because these same people came down and put them in camps where thousands of people died, kept them in horrible conditions, didn't want them coming to their cities. And Abraham Lincoln never actually freed anybody because, first of all, his emancipation wasn't to free anybody, but the places that they applied to, right, the slave states in the North, he allowed them to keep their slaves. They only applied to the places that went against him, that receded from the Union or succeeded from the Union or whatever. So he never actually freed anybody. And he even offered compensation for the slave owners, which people were paid for losing slaves. White people were paid. I mean, there has been no president in American history, yet we still act like, well, it's our job to save America. But, even back then, right, their whole job is to always have been to destroy our warrior class. That's why anybody ever talking about black people actually being self-sufficient, not self-sufficient within white supremacy, because you always have to be dependent on white supremacy. You can never be actually self-sufficient. But if you're talking about building your own, now you're talking about terroristic threats, because it's called projection. They're always going to project, how they are. They're going to think that's you. And the thing is, we're still having the same argument, but back in 1843, the brother Henry Highland Garnett literally gave a speech called, a call to action, or a call to rebellion for slaves in America. And it literally applies today. He said, rather than try to sway or convince whites, he said, obtain our freedom ourselves by rising up. And, of course, everybody got scared back then, including Frederick Douglass. And, they got into a famous debate over it because, people think, well, we have to just take our time and try to negotiate. Well, your enemy is never going to give up that spot, no matter what you think, what you feel. And no matter how liberal you think they don't want to lose that privilege, because they know when they do, they lose their protection ultimately. But they have to put these white saviors into our movements to control our movements. That's how Black Lives Matter turned into a predominantly white organization. Because if they are leading our movements, they can control how far it goes. They can control the plans. They can control what you do with it. But, this brother Henry Highland Garnett said, you can't be any more oppressed than you have been. You can't suffer greater cruelties than you already have. Rather die free men than live as slaves. He said, if it was us who had enslaved them, they would do any and everything to take us out. But we are patient people, as if we want to be used by them. And worst of all, you tamely submit while the he said, then worst of all, you tamely submit while your lords tear your wives from your arms and defile them before your eyes. You know what I'm saying? And he was speaking the truth. Well, yeah, actually, yeah, it would cripple. But the thing is, us doing us and building our own would also cripple the world economy. That's the thing that we don't realize. Most of the money generated, a lot of it comes off of our labor. Well, we already know they wouldn't have the root of it if it wasn't for our labor. But black people culture is taken by everybody from around the world, and everybody profits off of our culture except for our own. Right? If we just shut down sports and had our own league, that would cripple the world economy. Right? If Africa closed its borders, that would cripple the world economy. If we grew self confidence and self love for ourselves, that would cripple the world economy. You know what I'm saying? And this brother Henry Highland Garnett said, God nor angels nor just men command you to suffer for a single moment. Therefore, it's your duty to use every means, both moral, intellectual, and physical, that promise success. Now, this brother said that back in 1843. And of course, you would get the same critics as you would get today. And they would put him on CNN saying, "Oh, well, you're calling for a murder of all white people," or something like that, because that's how they twist arguments, right? They make you defend your word, but you never defend your word. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit there and argue about our blood being shed. Like, I'm not going to argue with somebody about whether Trayvon Martin deserved to be killed or not. Because if you think that he does, we just don't need to be in the same society. We don't need to be living in the same area or the same country or the same nation. We need to be under different laws, under different rules. Because apparently, and it only works one way, when a black man loses his life, we have to prove that we are not the aggressor. We are not the ones who are the criminal, because the first thing they do, they have a handbook, they criminalize you. Now, both of these presidents have, over history, over their history as old white guys, have always intentionally criminalized black people. And now all of a sudden they're running for president, and both of them say they will do nothing more. They will do more for black people. But we have to understand that we have the power within ourselves, right? When we realize that there is a reason why America comes to black people every time, because from the very beginning in the Revolutionary War, when they were losing to Britain, it wasn't until George Washington was forced to come begging black people for help. But then he recanted with the Fugitive Slave Act. right? And I'm sure some people say, well, George Washington promised us freedom, but there's always a but with it. That's why we have to understand who our enemy is. They are always 2 or 3 steps ahead, if not 10. Right? Just look at, we're still recovering from the crack epidemic in the 80s. But that was to break up that whole Black Power movement. They dissected it piece by piece. Right? They not only brought in, what's going on, Uncle? Bro, back along. And by the way, y'all can call in too. I'm not gonna be on here too long. I don't wanna keep ranting the whole time. So the number right there on the screen, you can call in and say whatever. Um yeah, I know I gotta give, more warning about when I'm gonna go live, but I just wanted to let people know the new video is coming up on the Forecast Radio 24. You know what I'm saying? It's coming on as soon as I can get it uploaded. So it's a live premiere. So make sure y'all subscribe because, I don't know if YouTube is gonna take the video down. But history, is just repeating itself over and over. And when George Washington passed the Fugitive Slave Act, right, that put everybody in danger, especially Black children. Because once he passed that law, they could just come in and kidnap people whenever they wanted. And then, there was a law in 1843 that made slave catching federal. It literally created federal agents who started as slave catchers because, this white guy went to go kidnap a free Black woman and take her into slavery, and he kidnapped her and her daughter, right? But he was supposed to go, back then you was supposed to go to court before you could take somebody out of a free state. And most times of course they let him, but in this particular case they said he didn't have enough evidence because she was probably a free woman and he just kidnapped her. But this white boy took her anyway, so he got arrested. Now eventually, the case went all the way up and to probably Supreme Court. I don't remember, but well, yeah, it was the Supreme Court. But basically, they freed this white boy and said he was within his rights to kidnap this free Black woman, regardless if he didn't have enough evidence, because the fugitive slave law outweighed any state law. But in turn, they couldn't force white citizens to be slave catchers because before then, free white citizens were just forced to be slave catchers, whether they wanted to or not. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them enjoyed it. But after that law, they made it federal. The government had to was responsible for catching slaves in America after 1843. And the government, most of their programs have started by trying to dismantle whatever Black people were doing. Like J. Edgar Hoover's whole life has been to stop and keep Black people in our place, starting with Marcus Garvey. He made sure to try to destroy that brother. And then the FBI was created to stop the rise of the Black Messiah. But the thing they don't understand is the Black Messiah is not a particular person, it's an energy. And at the end of the day, Black unity is the Black Messiah. But we have to learn how to have that warrior mentality, that warrior spirit in our mind. We have to regain that, because every living organism in the universe is trying to survive. But for us to talk about surviving is somehow seen as a terroristic threat. Now, this brother, Henry Highland Garnett, who gave the speech, right? He was a slave until 9, when his family, his dad, I'm guessing, helped him escape from slavery, right? He got his own business or whatever. He got this young brother educated. But, the whole time they were being hunted by slave catchers. I guess they called them nigger hunters back then. So, his sister ended up getting kidnapped. Now, people said, as when he was young, he walked around the streets all the time with a knife looking for this slave catcher that took his sister. And that's what inspired this brother to start saying, well, we can't reason with them because we've been trying to reason with them. And this was in 1843. And every rebellion that they tried to wipe from history, because our black leaders, that's why it's so hard to learn about people like Henry Highland Garnett. Because when we talk about black empowerment, somehow that history is just completely erased. Right? They try to remove that person from history completely as if they never existed. And that's why we have to be careful with organizations for quote unquote, well, they'll just say people of color now. Because these organizations, especially if they are able to stay around, generally are never in our best interest, because the groups that are put on terrorist lists, right? They're systematically destroyed. Right? Even the FBI did everything they could to destroy Martin Luther King and then killed him and gave him a holiday. Because Martin Luther King was saying, well, what they're doing with this money isn't right. Now, today, what's going on, brother guy? Yeah, you could definitely call in. What's going on, K Shaw? Yeah, y'all can call in, by the way, the number right there on the screen. I'm kind of talking about the election a little bit, but I'm just kind of going on a rant or whatever. But when history, it keeps repeating itself, and brothers like Henry Highland Garnett are erased from history because they know, when we understand what these brothers was preaching and how these brothers knew what we still argue about today. Meanwhile, the organizations like the NAACP, right, back in 1930, 1920, it may have meant something, but by 1945, people understood that the NAACP wasn't necessarily for the people, or at least to get them out of the position they're in. Because you have to be careful with people that compromise. Because when it comes to freedom, there is no compromising. You're either free or you're not. You're either in somebody else's system or you're not. And that's why we have to be careful with anybody pushing any kind of politics on us, whether they be pushing Democrats or Republicans. Now, I'm gonna be real. I agree with the definition of Republican, but when have you known America to actually be about the definition of anything, right? We should not want the government in our business because the government has literally bombed us, and no matter who has been there, it has been the same thing. Now, again, I'm gonna say I said it earlier. That doesn't mean like if there's a issue, like you need to get your street fixed and there's a proposition or whatever, go vote if it has something that influence you. But for you to tell people that this is the most important election, we got to get Donald Trump out of office, and especially people who say, if you don't go vote for Joe Biden, then you're basically voting for Trump. Well, you're the only one that's actually voting for a racist person, because you cannot ignore who he is, what he does. He doesn't even deny it. He doesn't say, this is what we're going to do, because they never have a plan to remove us from the bottom of the society. And the only time that you've ever seen action is when you've taken action. Yet we are okay with symbolisms. When they give us symbols, we accept that because for some reason we don't think we deserve tangible stuff. And when you've been, of course, beaten down for hundreds of years, and all you see through propaganda is you being evil, you don't think you're worth it. So now you're willing to play your part in a country that still doesn't even consider you a person. I mean, show me the law, because I can show you a law, and I can show you court rulings that say you aren't a person. But I don't remember seeing a law that ever reversed that. You don't even ask for that, though. You just have to get Donald Trump out of office. But what does that have to do with you? If you want to vote, why not vote for a the most successful black business people, to put them on a committee to help grow black businesses? We can do that right now, right? We can have sanctioned elections for the most successful business people and hold them accountable, because you've been fighting for the same thing, and everything they've ever done, they've always had a counter move. But we aren't thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. We're still reacting from 3 or 4 moves ago. And LBJ said, I'll have these niggas voting Democrat, and damn if he wasn't right. It's been 60 years now. And yeah, you can always blame the system. But at the same time, and I don't blame the victim, but at the same time, we are still compliant with the system because it can't survive without us. And that's the part that we never realized. We've always been eager to do our part. But America has always racialized and used blackness against us. Right from the very beginning. What's going on, Brother Bakari? What's going on, JPZ? Right, and I said before, during the Revolutionary War, right, they talk about Crispus Attucks. But the only reason why people talk about Crispus Attucks was because John Adams or whatever, whoever the second president was, I believe it was John Adams, he took on the case for the British soldiers who massacred, during the British massacre. He took on the case for the British soldiers and got them free because he said a black man started it. And in the video that I got coming up on the other channel, the Forecast Radio 24, is a video coming up right after this show. So make sure y'all subscribe. But they use the same arguments to this day. right? That white boy who shot the brother during the protest, brother James Scurlock, right? He shot him. Now, even though he had an outdated permit and was out there shooting at other people, he was still able to say self-defense, and the DA staying on code is always going to bring up whatever he can about this brother and say, well, we gotta look into the brother's past, but he never once mentioned this white boy past or even what he was doing at the time, because they follow the same guidelines. White supremacy isn't that creative. But we have to start having the spirit of brothers like Henry Highland Garnett. Right now, he knew that you cannot convince them of anything. And he knew how they were. He knew they will never get justice. And it's almost 180 years later. And we're still talking about justice. Now, we are the only people who are saying no justice, no peace. Yet, we are the most peaceful people and get the least amount of justice. So, why are we still saying no justice, no peace? And then turn around and say, well, we got to get Trump out of office. Well, tell me, would you be protesting for Breonna Taylor if Hillary Clinton had won? Or if Obama was in office, would you be protesting? Because I believe Trayvon Martin was shot and killed in 2014 before Donald Trump was in office. I believe America has 7 or 8 slave owning presidents in office before Donald Trump. Right? The brother James Byrd, got dragged by a car in like 1998 or something before Donald Trump. Right? This is the same thing, in or out. And if anything, we shouldn't want more taxes. We should be demanding they stop taking our taxes. Right? First of all, they should stop taking our lives, but they should stop taking our livelihoods. But that's the way they can control our warrior class and make us fight each other over pieces of paper with dead people on them that would have lynched us. Especially if we look them in the eye and we fight each other, and they make sure most of our warrior class is in jail or dead, especially the leaders of those warrior classes. But when we can educate ourselves and stop looking at ourselves as the enemy and see what real freedom is, because that's what everybody wants, right? But we look at each other through the eyes of white supremacy, and we look at those people who are in those situations as the way a white supremacist will look at any of us, without taking into account the circumstances or whatever. But with leadership and guidance, that energy can be used in the correct direction. It's not about taking away that energy, it's about using it the right way. It's not about not being angry, it's about using your anger constructively, right? Because those same people could be the people protecting those neighborhoods, and at one point they were. But that's the purpose of them destroying those communities. And Joe Biden was definitely one of the main players for the last 40 some years. And that's not to take away from Donald Trump, instigating it for the last 40 some years. But it is to say, if we were to take our talents to wherever we wanted to take them, how would they be getting what they got in the first place? If we were to start cycling those dollars in our communities, how could somebody else make more money off of our labor than we do? And that doesn't even matter if you make millions of dollars or $12 an hour. The government making more money off of your labor, and whoever you're working for is making more money off of your labor. And that should be what we're really mad about. And really, it's that smiling in your face Democrat stuff, right? They are sucking your pockets dry while you're being murdered still. They just doing it with a smile. So most of our people rather have the smile. But really, during segregation, you knew who didn't want your money. They hated us so much that they didn't want us to spend money in their stores. Right? And why would you want to spend with somebody? Why would you want to spend money with somebody who hates you that much? And the difference is, right? If you want to give money, right? If I'm selling a product, I'm not going to say, okay, you can't buy this product. But what I can say is, oh, you want to buy into this company? No, you cannot. This is supposed to be passed down to whoever the next generation is. All right, what I'm not going to say you can't come to this neighborhood to buy this, but what I can say is, well, you can't set up shop in this neighborhood because, we have our own business. The way if I go to Chinatown and try to set up shop, what would happen to me? But at the end of the day, you shouldn't even have to compare it because you should be able to speak and do it on your own without having to say, well, they did it. Well, really, we can do it because we want to. We can make up our own rules. We're in a position where we can make up our own rules the minute we try to stop assimilating this into somebody else's rules, right? We're trying to assimilate into a culture where our hairstyle is considered not natural, not clean, not businesslike. Why would we want to assimilate into that kind of culture? Why would we want to send our kids to school that tell them Christopher Columbus discovered America, but won't tell them who Henry Highland Garnet was? But that's all we're doing. And at some point, we have to have the courage to stand on our own. But what we have to realize is, time and time again, we are the only group that has done it. Because, we get destroyed time and time again. And that's the reason why they remove our black leaders from history, because they don't want us to realize how many times we have been on code and we have had success, because all we're supposed to know is failure. Because when all you see is failure, you think you're going to keep perpetuating that failure. But when you see, damn, there has been success, you're going to start doing those things that has been successful. I think got a call. Hello? this brother guy.
What's up, bro? This is Joe, man. JP's in the chat.
Oh, JP's in.
Man, you still online?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, well, look, bro. I just wanted to see. I wanted to basically ask you about. First of all, bro, I just wanted to thank you, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been subscribed for a long time, and you know, that's the first thing I want to do is just thank you, bro. Because some of us is out here listening, and some of us, a lot. I'm sure everybody who listens to you really appreciates you, bro. So, and just keep up the good work, bro.
Man, thank you, man. I appreciate that for real, bro.
Yeah, man. Well, look, man. I just want to know how you feel about the divide, man. Cause man, I just fell out with my sister over this shit, man. I never voted in my life, but I've been trying to tell her about how we should stop playing into basically just automatically voting Democrat, when we should start really voting on our principles and voting on people who at least sit down at the table with us and listen to us. So I was telling her, I feel like both of our presidents is racist. I mean, that's no, that's beyond, like, I don't see how some people think, some of us ain't racist. Or, you know what I'm saying? Let's just say a lot of our people think Biden and Kamala not racist and Trump is. And it's like, that's the main, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the main propaganda pushing this presidential election. Right. And I'm talking about we fell out, bro. We ain't spoke since. And so when I look at how we divided in our own home, then you go into our neighborhood, we divided. Then you go into, you know what I'm saying, in the hip hop, we divided. You go into religion, we divided. You go into, sexuality, we divided. It's just like we divided in every category and every way. Like we got Cube, man. Cube, like I grew up under Cube, man, and I always respected Cube. And I look at Cube like one of the people who really speaks for us. And we got everybody saying he a sellout now. And I'm like, man, how can we say that Cube is a sellout? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Like my question is, how you feel about the divide, bro? Because we all know what we up against.
Right.
And we know, I know you know about, like you talk about everything we up against. But how is we gonna unite under how can we all? How is we gonna be able to unite when we so divided? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I just wanted your thoughts on that, bro.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I mean, I guess we all trying to figure it out. I mean, that's why I kind of do the thing, like, really the videos that I was making, you know what I'm saying? Like, violence kind of speak out and make people want to take action and stuff. But we really should be mad that we in the position that we in, first of all. But we got to realize, though, like, divide and conquer is the number one, like, war strategy they've always used. You know what I'm saying? House slave versus field slave. You know what I'm saying? This versus that. You know what I'm saying? That's a war strategy of the enemy. What you got to do is try to study your enemy's moves and then use it on them. Try to divide and conquer. But the thing is, we've always had this divide from, like, and they have too, right? So, like, I mean, what they did was, like, during before the Berlin Conference, right? Everybody was, like, fighting each other over Africa. But what they said was, like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna split it up. You know what I'm saying? You take this, we're not gonna fight no more. But they still fight each other all the time. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, we're not the only one that has division. You know what I'm saying? It just stands out for us because we can't afford the division. But especially, like, with you and your sister, it's hard to speak on that because, I'm like, my mom, she want me to, like, push Biden onto me, you know what I'm saying? But what they're not realizing is they're the only ones that's actually kind of pushing the races on somebody, and they're not going to accept it. But it's hard for people to accept it, you know what I'm saying? It's like a fear thing, like, This how do you get somebody to not be afraid to, you know what I'm saying, swim in water, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's man. It's just man. It's man. Just because one of the things that I like you said about your videos is how you keep trying to show us that we got like an enemy. We all got this common enemy that's trying to destroy us, and I feel like we keep, I feel the same way. Like if we keep seeing what our oppressor is doing to us, maybe that'll somehow wake us up to realize that we gotta unite and love each other. You know what I'm saying? And stick together.
Right.
But it's like, man, especially with this political thing coming, it just seems like it's causing us even more division. Like we after what happened with George Floyd and all this and Breonna Taylor, like it seemed like we was uniting a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We were starting to. It was a big energy of just let's love each other. But then with this election, it's crazy, man. Like we get divided even more. And man, what's tripping me out is seeing the hip hop community. Like this is the grassroots of the streets, and you would, to me, like I would think that everybody from the streets and everybody from the struggle and everybody who support hip hop and listen to hip hop, we should all be on. We should kind of be on one accord. And then to see everybody just still divided, man, and still, pointing the finger and lashing out, calling people sellouts and saying, it's just been crazy, man. It's been a hell of a year, bro.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it has been a crazy year, but you know what I'm saying? The thing is, like, you can't change, you know what I'm saying, people, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to start kind of controlling like your own culture, your own, like, you know what I'm saying, like the enemy, they realize, you know what I'm saying, it's harder to make a free person a slave than to make a kid a slave, you know what I'm saying? And it's harder to change a person who think they know mind as a person to somebody who's willing to learn mind, you know what I'm saying? And it starts with like over a cultural thing, because you got to believe me, like this is going to be like not something that happens like tomorrow. It's a generational thing. Like maybe our grandkids, like even though they'll be in a position where they got their own, they still going to have to worry about the enemy coming back, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's gonna be a progressive thing. What you gotta do is get back in control of like your kids' minds, you know what I'm saying? Somehow, and but that's still taking like everybody doing their job and their role, you know what I'm saying? But it's stuff like this that's like we've always had divisions, you know what I'm saying? Like I was talking about Henry Highland Garnett. He had an argument about with Frederick Douglass, and they was probably speaking about like the same thing we talking about now.
Yeah, that's right. We even with Martin and Malcolm, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I just wanted to give you a call, man, to kind of just see how you felt about that, bro. Because just seeing,
hey, bro,
everything that's unfolding, man, it get me discouraged, man, and I just feel like, man, like sometimes I be getting down and my spirit just be like, damn, why can't we just get on cold? Like, why is it this hard for us,
Yeah.
But like you said, it all just starts with us as individuals and with our families and with our children, and if that's what we just keep focusing on as a group, we'll start everything will start, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
falling into place if we focus on ourselves and our children, bro. So
right.
I'm glad you
man, make
up. Because people told me that before, and so when I hear it from you, it's reinforcement, man. It just kind of not let the big picture get me down and get me discouraged, man. Just focus my energy on myself and on my kids, and my inner, my family. But like I was telling you, man, even in my family, we just divided, man. Like you know what I'm saying, we clash when it comes to these certain things, especially now I'm seeing politics. But
I mean,
so brother, I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you, man, and just let you know that, you know, we out here listening, man, and we appreciate your wisdom, man.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Hey, make up with your sister, man. You don't want to be beefing with her over something like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if y'all ain't got gonna talk about it, you know what I'm saying? Just like make up with her. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's facts, bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna swallow my pride, man, and hit her up.
Yeah, bro.
Let her know.
Yeah, you never know what can happen, bro. Like you said, 2020
hey, bro,
crazy.
You take care, man, and keep, you know what I'm saying? Keep trying to help the people, bro. We need you, bro. We need your voice, bro.
Man, thank you, bro. I appreciate that, man, for real.
All right, now, blessings, bro. I'll get back to you.
All right, bro.
All right, now.
All right, definitely, man, definitely. But you know, at the end of the day, bro, like, really, we have to realize we have been on code more than more than we are like to believe. That's again the point of them controlling the propaganda, controlling the what we see, controlling the history that we know. Because time and time again, we are the only group in America that has ever lifted ourselves up by our bootstraps. Hello.
Peace, my good brother Fulcad.
What's going on, brother Picard?
Man, I ain't heard in a long time, man. How you been?
Yeah, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. How you been, bro?
I'm good, bro. Hanging in there.
That's what's up.
We got to get back to doing shows, do a couple more shows together, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hit me up. We can do it tomorrow if you want.
Yeah. All right. But look, I was listening to you. I saw your thing. I had to look up what a Redeemer government was. They want this. They want it again. They want to do the same thing. Once I looked at the definition, how after the Reconstruction, the Democrats, the Dixiecrats, the Klan, how they wanted white supremacy to stay in charge, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, both parties, as far as I'm concerned, is the same, white supremacy, right? We truly only have it's three options. Biden, Trump. The third option is us. The third option is actually the best option, and that's the only option that's going to work for us. I heard you just said we're the only people that ever picked ourselves up by our bootstraps. It's time to do it again. And this time, once we pick ourselves up and fix ourselves and do the things that we are supposed to do, we can't go back. We can't go back trying to be like other people, trying to live like other people. We can't go back. You understand?
Right, definitely.
You know, and that's the only way we're going to make it. When during the first debate, I put a post on Facebook, and I said, the state of Black America, the state of Black America, Black people, we will allow two old white men, one 74, the other one 78. We will allow two old white men to make you come enemies with your loved ones, arguing about which white man is best for you, and neither one of them is good for us. If you vote for Biden, you're stuck on the Democratic plantation. If you vote for Trump, you're taking up for white supremacy. If you don't have either, our people tell us, they tell us, shut up, you ain't got nothing to say. I've had people get mad, want to fight because I won't vote for Biden. I've had people, family members, you can't be my friend on Facebook no more, that stuff you saying. We have to look in the mirror as being as descendants of enslaved Africans. We have to look in that mirror and stop looking to the descendants of the slave owner, the overseer, and the straw balls to save us. That's not their job. It's never been their job. They never wanted to do it. They'll show you one, They'll show you one person, a couple of black people that made it, and all you have to do is be like them, because they don't want you to be who you are. As long as we try to be them, try to live like them, they have complete control. And now they are riding around and they're talking about what's going to happen on election day and what's going to happen after election day. How about if they try something? We give them something they never expected from us. We're not going to sit back and let them kill us, then go march in the streets and say, no justice, no peace. They're going to come at us, and we're going to defend ourselves. Let them see how it feels. Scream, no justice, no peace. It's time for us to make a change. It's time for us to stop trying to depend on other people. There's only one group of people that's going to fix black people in this country, and that's black people in this country. No other group of people, no other ethnic group or racial people. It's not their job. It's not their job to do it. It's our job. They let you know it's not their job. We just don't want to accept it. We're stuck picking the lesser of two evils. Again, just like 2016. You're correct. But you know what? Since we know they're both evil, let evil people pick the lesser of two evils. We don't have to pick none. Now it's the time for us to start building us up, taking care of one another. Respect, love, provide, and protect. That's what black people in this country have to learn to do. If I can respect you, I can love you. Because respect is more important than all of us. I love you, I provide for you. I love you, I protect you. And that's how we have to start looking at one another as brothers and sisters. Again, we can respect one another, love one another, provide and protect one another. Provide for and protect one another. That's what we have to do if we want to be better in this country. The contract with Black America, I'm not knocking Ice Cube's effort. I'm not going to knock that man's effort because it look like he's trying. But the contract that we need to write and the contract that we need to sign is a contract with ourselves. How we're going to fix our neighborhood, how we're going to do business together. My good brother Forecast, I thank you for taking my call. Once again, we're going to have to do a show. My channel is Brother Bakari Forecast. I got to have you on again.
Yeah, definitely, bro.
Got to get back and start doing shows again. All right, my good brother, I'm listening to you.
Yeah, thank you for calling, bro. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Thank you for taking my call. Peace.
All right. Yeah, the brother was dropping knowledge. He was definitely killing it, and you know, we as a people, you know, we just gotta realize that we have pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps time and time again in this country. Now, just because, you know, it has been attacked doesn't mean that we haven't done it and that we can't continue to do it. Now we have to be able to protect what we build. But every other group in America had to have handouts to get what they got. Right? What we built from the time we were out of slavery to the 1950s and the 60s, we didn't get any kind of handouts. In fact, we got the worst, the last of everything. And, you know, that's what we have to realize. We aren't as divided as the enemy likes us to believe. Now, of course, propaganda is always going to show that propaganda is always going to show that we are our own worst enemy. And we start looking at each other through, you know, the lens of white supremacy. But there has been a reason why we have been the number one target of America from day one, because they realize when we rise up, all of it ends. White supremacy means nothing without black inferiority. At the end of the day, we are all we got. And, we can't be divided over stuff like this, over something that really won't affect our community, right? When they are politicians, trained to lie. When neither politician who is trained to lie wouldn't even think enough for you to lie to you to say that they're going to do something to you, for you. Why do you feel like you have to be a part of whatever this is? Now, when you talk about, our ancestors died for our right to vote, they were killed while they were trying to vote. But they didn't die just for the right to vote that picked between the quote unquote lesser of two evils. If anything, they died for representation. Right now, black men have been able to vote in America really since, 1865 in a lot of states. Well, technically, legally, they could have the right to vote. And during Reconstruction, of course, there were a lot of, black people in office. But when they decided that they had enough, they didn't go and say, okay, we're going to go vote them out. What they did is they rode into town, they burned it down, they chased out these politicians and these people who were elected officials, who were just in black towns, by the way, not even in their town. But they didn't use democratic methods to get away with it. America has never used democratic methods to get anything. But the one thing that we take from America is democratic. We take as democratic methods. But what we don't take and what we need to take is how America is number one in self-defense. You can put other countries together and it doesn't match America's self-defense or military. And we are telling you no different than what George Washington told America. And they put his face on the mountain. Now you can name, Democrats, Republicans, whatever. You can go down the line. And they've all co-signed. And in fact, it probably has been the Democrats who pass laws that get more black people locked up. It seems like that's what we're voting on. How many people we want locked up versus how many people we want murdered in the street. That's not something that we have to pick. We can decide to create our own system. We are in a point where we can create our own language, our own laws, our own whatever. But we got to get rid of that mentality of thinking the white man's ice is colder, because that's the thing that is holding us back. But like the brother said, like the only thing that can save us is unity, and we don't need to be fighting with our families over an election that's not really going to matter in the long run in our lives, especially if we're doing what we have to do. Now, some people think it's their duty to have to stand up for this country that's rejected them without even asking them so much as to repeal a law or a court ruling that says they're not even fully human. And as far as Ice Cube and whatever, people say he's being used by whatever. But if Biden had done that, he would have been used by Joe Biden. Now, with the contract with Black America, I say if there's going to be a contract with Black America, it has to be a contract between Black Americans, because your enemy is never going to help you. When history shows they've done everything to do the opposite. And even now, they can, choke George Floyd out in the middle of the street on camera and get away with it. They can go into your house while you're sleeping like Breonna Taylor and get away with it. And it don't matter who the president is. Right. And, the only time it's going to matter is when you have your own candidate literally pushing your own agenda, even if that's just in your neighborhood. But you don't even have your own candidate in your own neighborhood. And most likely, the people who are running is going to be running to get accepted by a society that is designed to hurt you. Asians don't worry about the election, and a lot of other groups don't worry about the election. And the Jewish people, they only worry if they're going to get something out of the deal. And by the way, Germany decided to pay reparations to the Jewish people just for COVID, because they're having a hard time adjusting to COVID. So Germany is paying reparations for that. And meanwhile, the first quote unquote Black president that we all should have voted, or we all talked about voting for. And I'm going to be honest, in 2008 was the first time I was eligible to vote, but I didn't vote for Barack Obama, even though I should have, for the culture, right? The first Black president, quote unquote. But when he was asked about Black reparations, he started talking about schools. All right, yeah, my bad. I got a phone call. I'm not sure. Can y'all hear me? I'm not sure if y'all can still hear me or not. But yeah, that's exactly why I was saying that's why the Asians don't yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. All right. Yeah, but that's why I was saying other groups they focus on their own. All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. All right. Yeah, so yeah, that but once we start focusing on our own, and by the way, we are another thing that we don't ask for our vote is for them to permanently give us the right to vote in America. What other group in America that's supposed to be American citizens that they vote every 25 years whether you'll still have the right to vote? It makes no sense. And we won't even ask for that. But every 4 years we'll say, well, we just have to do this, and then 4 years from now we'll ask for something. But we've been saying that since I can remember. And soon it's going to be 30-20, and we're going to say, well, it's 4 more years. We just got to get this one racist guy out of office. When really we can start right now to build our own government, our own systems, our own whatever. But first, it's going to have to start, like I said, with the community and getting control of our own minds, and then teaching our children, because they're being sent to school to learn how to be submissive to white supremacy. White supremacy's goal is to get complete submission. And we've never been completely submitted, and we never will. Now, the key is to get a mass enough amount of people on code enough for us to overcome it, and we will. And especially, this is the generation that overcomes white supremacy. But first, we have to be able to stand on our own too, have enough courage to stand on our own, to elect our own officials, even if it's just in our own communities, in our own circles. And it starts with the unity. Like, the police can get on the radio and call, and 8 other cops with guns will show up right there ready to take over. And a crowd full of people will stand back with nothing but their phones and record. Now, until we can get on the on a point where we can send out a call, and 8 armed people show up to make sure somebody's rights aren't violated or somebody isn't killed, then we're going to have a problem. Because when people know that they can violate you, they're going to continue to do it. And as long as you show them that it's okay to violate you, they're going to continue to do it. And that's what we're doing. And, if we can't have enough courage to stand up on our own, right? If our kids being shot down in the street isn't enough for us to want change, then that's a problem. Because right now we're out here protesting, but then telling people to vote for the people who help perpetuate what we're protesting against. And that's all we see all day long. But if anybody wanna call in, the number is right there. I'm trying to make sure this video is up. The new video should be up. So make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24. The video should be up in a few minutes. So, I'm not going to be on here much longer. But, at the end of the day, this is something that we're going to have to stand up to eventually, right? We can't be afraid forever. And we can't worry about, what other people thinks about us. Now, of course, not everybody is going to be on board right away, but once you start building it, they will come. When you build it, they will come, right? And those of us who is willing to do what we have to do, we have to set the example. That's what leaders do. Yeah. And if there could be freedom without bloodshed, believe me, black people would have found it, because we've done everything that we could have done to not shed any blood. But it is your enemy who most times brings the war to you. But we have to start being active instead of reactive. Instead of picking between the lesser of two evils, pick the greater of two goods between us. Because once we have our own economy, then the rest will fall into place. And at the end of the day, we have to realize that we are all we got. Now, I'm a unless somebody want to call in, the number right there on the screen, 804-601-4015. I'm gonna wrap it up. Make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24. Is an instant premiere, so I want to make sure, what I'm saying, we in the chat room, and I want to make sure everything is right. But make sure y'all subscribe to Brother Bakari channel. We may do a video tomorrow. Let's see what's up with that. And I'm definitely gonna come back with another video, or another live soon. But to the brother Jay Peasy, man, make up with your sister, man. It ain't even worth it. But as a group, as a collective, we gotta start putting our own ahead of anybody else without apologizing for it. Right? We have to say, well, we need to focus on our own economics. We need to focus on our own neighborhoods without saying, well, the Jewish people do it or the Asian people do it. We just need to say we need to do it because that's what we want to do. That's a part of being unapologetic. That's a part of wiping that fear out of your heart. And I personally don't blame the victim like that, because that's what we are. We are victims. We've been brutalized for hundreds of years. When somebody beats you down the way that they've done everything you can ever imagine and everything that you can't even imagine. It has an effect over years, over time. And of course, that fear is bred. And when you see, nothing but black people being murderers, killers, pimps, or whatever, all negative stereotypes, we start thinking that way. And then they starve us economically and throw some crumbs on the ground and tell us to fight over it. But that's no different than what they did during slavery when they put two black men in the ring and made them fight each other to death most of the time. And you know what? They paid those, fighters pretty good money, but they were still slaves. And now we still fight each other for crumbs, for pieces of paper, for people who would have lynched us. we still fight each other instead of focusing on the enemy. But it's not about changing our warrior class. It's about getting them to focus that energy in the right direction. It's about getting all of us to focus our particular energy in the right direction. And that energy will attract more, and that'll inspire other people to get on code. Because most of the time, the people who are scared, they're just waiting for something that they can latch to. Most people aren't going to be leaders. Most people need a system established already. But, we need to start building schools for our own children. And that only starts with unity and putting our money together and doing what we have to do. But anyway, man, I appreciate all of y'all for coming through, man. I appreciate y'all for calling. JPZ, Brother Bakari, man, all y'all in the chat, man. Much love, man. Yeah, make it up with your sister, man. Especially fighting over two racist people who don't give a damn about either one of you. Right? It is what it is, man. But, make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24, man. It's in the description. I'm going to see y'all over there in a minute as soon as the video go up. I'm not sure if YouTube going to delete it or whatever. YouTube got a thing with removing my videos, but, it's whatever. But as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.